So I think there are two different subjects here when we want to reset the work that we've done. Let's go ahead and create a new repository and initialize it, okay? So we went in, we made a directory called test, we iterated into the directory, and we chose git init, which means that we're now in a repository. It's not attached to GitHub, it's just a local repository. And then what we might do, and right now there's nothing in that repository. So the next thing we might do is create a couple files inside of it that are just simple text files that have no real meaning in themselves, but they're useful to us if we want to play with our repository. So now we have two files called foo and quux, and foo has foo in it and quux has quux in it. So it's a pretty simple situation. Then let's go ahead and add those to our repository, and then let's commit our work. Okay. So now, if we run git status, we can see everything's clear, and we've got these two files, and one says foo and the other says quux. And all of that is good. Now let's suppose that we modify quux by adding another word to it. Okay? And now when we can see that instead of just saying quux, it says quux in bar. If we're unhappy with that, right, we don't like the change that we made, we say, we haven't committed anything, we haven't staged anything, we're just looking at the file, we modified it, we wish we hadn't modified it, we can just check it out. And now when we cat quux.text, it's back the way it was, as if we'd never touched it. Okay? I do that command all the time. All right? Another one that we might do. So now we're back in the situation where we've modified it. We do a git add, and then we do our git status, and we go, look, okay, we've staged this file now, okay? To unstage it, we just do what they tell us to do. If we say, oh, whoops, I didn't mean to stage that, or now that I see what's happened, I wish I hadn't staged that. And again, I do this all the time. In fact, I do this the most. I go, okay, I want to undo that. And now when I type git status, you can see it's back into the modified. It's no longer staged. Now it's just modified, okay? So all that's good and well, and to me that takes care of most of the problems. But every once in a while, we'll get ourselves into even more trouble than that. And again, remember, once we get to here, we can restore it back to what it was by doing git checkout. We kind of already covered this, but just to make it clear that now we're back to where we were. But let's suppose we're back in this situation where we've modified the file. And then we do a git add. And we're looking at it. And we're in this situation and we want to get back to the way we were before. There's a shortcut way to do it, which is to just say, I want to undo everything I did since my last commit. All right, you haven't committed anything yet, but you just want to get back to where it was before you started changing anything. And you can do a git reset dash dash hard, okay? And that will get you back to where you were. And now when you do a git status, it's as if you never touched anything, right? It's just back the way it was when you did your last commit. So that it's back the way it was, whatever it was 5 minutes ago when we did this. Okay, so all that's good and well. And so let's suppose that we've modified the file. We add the file. And we commit the file. Now, we have two commits. There was the commit we did originally, and we have this new commit that we did a few minutes later. So suppose we want to get back to where we are here, okay? Now, I personally think the best way to get back to there is to create a branch on that file, and then if you want to work with it, merge it into your current one. But there is in fact a relatively shorter way to do it. We can reset our status to where we were before this commit. So we can do git reset head like that. Now, we're all of a sudden back to where we were before we'd done that last commit, the second commit. If we look at Quux, it's got Quux and bar, so we're kind of back to where we were before we did the commit that we didn't wish to do. We haven't lost any of our work, nothing's gone away, we're fine, we're happy, we're looking at it, now we say, well, now I'd like to rethink that commit and just do it a little bit differently. And we could, make some additional changes to our files. And now, if we look at quux.txt, it's got three things in it. We can do a git add, git commit, second commit, part B. And now, git log, well, let's bring it up where we can all see it, git log. Now you can see you've got a second commit, and this commit is better than your second commit. Cat quux.txt. It's also possible to do a hard reset from the second commit back to the first commit, in which you lose all your changes that you ever made. You go back to the very beginning. I don't know if I ever could see the case for doing a hard reset of that nature. The command would look like this. I don't think I'd understand why you'd ever want to do that. You want to get back the way we were, where you can see what it was like before you made the commit, just before you made the commit you wished you hadn't made. That seems like the better thing to do, rather than going back to the way things were even before it. Because now, if we do Quux.text, it's as if we never touched it at all. It's we not only undid the commit, we undid all the work we did before the commit. We're back to as if there had only been one commit. And frankly, that seems like an odd thing to do. So I think that's important. I think the other thing to add here is that this what we're talking about is undoing a commit before we've pushed. If you do push your work, then you just can't do any of these things because someone else may have checked it out, and then for you to start changing history after someone else has checked it out, I don't think it's a good idea. But if you haven't pushed yet, then you have these options here. By far, to me, the most important ones are the ones that we described before we did the commit, because those are the ones. You should never do a commit unless you're fairly certain that you meant to do it. In other words, you always have to do a git status after you've done the git add and see, is this the commit I want to do? But if you do the mistake, you can undo it, preferably by the not the hard option, but this option, which I think is a good one. Okay, that's all I wanted to say.